Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Monday, kind of back to reality Monday. NFL playoffs are set. Got a lot of football starting on Thursday night with the NCAA playoffs, Thursday and Friday. Then you got a lot of NFL Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Gator basketball team goes down to Kentucky. We'll have Mark Wise in the second portion of today's program, get his thoughts on the landscape of college basketball and the SEC and the Mighty Gators. Gators also picked up a safety transfer from UAB that was supposed to go to Georgia. He decided to become a Gator, and we'll see how that goes. Let's go to the Titan More hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we are now joined by JC. Good morning, JC.
Hey, QB. Good morning. Monday, January 6th. Here we go.
Here we go.
2025. Here we go, 2025. I guess the thing I took from the weekend, QB, was the basketball game on Saturday where, you know, it's very rare, I think, you go on the road and you score 100 points and you don't win, but credit to Kentucky. I think they basically made every shot they took. And one of the things I was impressed about that team was how they moved without the basketball and how they're coached. And, you know, how they're coached is really important because they've been dealing with Calipari for a long time, and this guy has brought such a different game to their team, and I think the fans are really happy there. And you know, this league is going to be it's going to be a gut buster because there's so much talent. When I watched Tennessee and what they did, I mean, I was just blown away. It's the first time I'd seen Tennessee. You know, Alabama scores over 100. Auburn keeps blowing people out. I think you have three levels in this conference. You have a top tier, a middle tier that's close, and then you have a couple teams down there at the bottom.
Yeah, and home field advantage or home court advantage is huge. Majority of the home teams won, I think, except one team, and majority of them are blowouts. Yeah, Andy, I wanted to bring this up. Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, what a sad week for Kirby Smart last week. He lost his dad. If people didn't hear about it, his dad fell, I think, on Bourbon Street one of the days they were in New Orleans, had surgery, but had complications and passed away, I think, the day after their loss to Notre Dame there in New Orleans. So very, very sad. Rough week for them. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them for sure. Everybody's got some people asking about Felipe Franks. They saw him yesterday catching balls. Yeah, he's a tight end, I believe, for somebody. I'm not sure who. But the NFL yesterday, I saw a little bit of it. I watched the first half of the Vikings game. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but come on, Kevin O'Connell, just kick your field goals, right?
I mean, come on, Kevin. It's just 10 minutes to go in the second period, and you're going for it on 4th and 7 from the 7. I don't know, man. I don't know what's caught these guys, but they have to coach smarter. It really helps when you get points. You know, that's how you win. And 3 points is good at that point in the game. And listen, their defense is good. You have to trust them at some point. And I just disagreed with all that. But Detroit really showed me something. I liked them last week when we talked about this game. And the reason why is because I knew they could put pressure on Darnold. He has trouble sometimes when he's hurried. And if Minnesota can't protect him, they can be had. I think that's how they lost their game against the Rams. Same type of thing happened when they played the Rams. Now they get to play the Rams again. Detroit, this is huge for them. They get a week off. They need it badly. They're beat up, but, man, you have to give Campbell and that team a lot of credit for playing these last 2 weeks banged up like they were. And now they get a week off, and the playoffs go through Detroit and Kansas City, and that's what we're looking at now.
Yes. So the NFL playoffs, as we said, are set. I think all the top seeds will move on fairly easily. And he says, how big of a confidence boost did the Broncos get from yesterday? I mean, they may be confident, but I don't think the Broncos can beat the Buffalo Bills at Orchard Park. I don't think that's possible. Would like to see the Broncos and the Oilers. I mean, the Titans go back to those uniforms. They actually look like a
Yeah,
football team.
I agree. I mean, they really do. That was a nice sight, watching Tennessee dress up like their old team. And I mean, I agree with you, QB. Those orange crush uniforms, that was the Denver Broncos, man. I agree with you 100%. And I don't know what Detroit was wearing last night. I can't get into that black and blue, but the way they play, I don't think anybody cares. And really, the playoffs going forward into this, I agree with you. I think the 1, 2, 3 seeds in both conferences are clearly better teams, and they'll literally have to beat themselves, in my opinion, to lose in the playoffs. And Kansas City, Detroit get weeks off. Green Bay, really, I don't know what they were thinking yesterday. They lost to a team they haven't lost to in 6 years, and now they have punched their ticket to Philadelphia. That's not the ideal spot you want to play. But if you had a choice to play in either Los Angeles or Philly, they chose Philly because of how lazy they were yesterday and how badly they get the F of the day when they, basically Jordan Love, I know he gets hurt. Everybody gets hurt, right? But you still should beat the Bears. Even with Malik Willis, you could still beat the Bears at Lambeau. And they almost did, but they fell, they kept it too close, and give credit to the Bears.
Is Jordan Love hurt
a
badly?
bad football team. I don't think he was. I mean, they kept him out. His hand, he was thrown on the sideline at the end of the game when they thought they were going to need to win because they saw that the Commanders were losing to Dallas. So, they were thinking, hey, man, we can get that 6th seed and go to L.A. Or Tampa. But now they go to Philly. Just a terrible job by the Packers yesterday, and it's going to cost them because I don't see them beating the Eagles.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts hadn't played in a while either, has he?
He's got a concussion, and he's been out the last 2 games. Not much has been said about him other than he's been in concussion protocol, and the last 2 weeks he's been away. Philadelphia rested Barkley, they rested Brown, they rested Smith. But defensively, that team is really good, and I think they would be able to still win against Green Bay at home because of that defense, even with the other guy in there, QB, and it could be Kenny Pickett, could be the other guy. I think it'll be Hurts, but nothing's really been said about it.
Yeah, I would think he would be back if he's been out for 2 weeks. He should be ready to roll. So tonight, for your viewing pleasure, you have the FCS National Championship game, the Montana State Bobcats against the North State Bison. I like the Bobcats. They're your defending national champs. They got a really good quarterback who's been there forever. I mean, he has been playing for the Bobcats forever. I think they win tonight, so I'll be watching that. What will you be watching, JC? The Bachelor?
I'm going to watch. No, no. I'm afraid I haven't watched that since about 2003. I've got my eyes on that game as well in Frisco. North Dakota State makes it an annual trip, but Montana State, as you said, defending champs, and FCS is great football. It really is good to watch, especially when you get to this level of FCS team. And they play good. They play good, clean football. I think it'll be fun to watch. A lot of points should be scored in this. And it's good to see somebody step up and challenge North Dakota State in that division because really they've been running roughshod over the last decade or so.
But they haven't. If you look, South Dakota State and Montana State have won the last few national titles. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right.
I don't know if you saw any of this. I watched a little bit of it. The Century over in Kapalua.
Oh,
my
God.
It is pitch and putt for these boys. Hideki Matsuyama. We forgot to pick this, by the way. Now that golf is in full swing, they play the Sony Open in Hawaii this weekend. But Hideki Matsuyama set a record on the PGA Tour at 35 under par.
It's just absurd. I mean, these are not PGA type. This should not be venues for these players when it's just, hey guys, go out there and practice and do whatever you want.
They had a 534-yard par 4, which is nothing to these guys because they hit it a million miles and everything is downhill on the volcanoes or the mountains that they're playing in out there. But anyway, it was PGA Tour's in full effect now, and we will be
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
Peachland Dental golf picks, JC, starting Friday or Wednesday.
Uh,
Wednesday. We got
yeah,
to do it Wednesday
I'm
because the
ready for
tournament
that.
starts on Thursday.
Okay, so all right, I'm ready for that. And then we've got a playoff game this week again on Thursday night, Notre Dame, Penn State. We've also got a playoff game Friday, Ohio State, Texas. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But, with the golf QB, I feel like as we go through the years, the live becomes less and less of a thought in my head as far as the best players in the world. And it's just clearly the PGA Tour right now. And some of these young players that you haven't heard of, that you will hear of by the end of this year, by the middle part of this year, are about to emerge. And when you see guys shooting 30 under par, I mean, you're right, a 535-yard par four, but for these guys, it's a 200-yard second shot, which is a 7-iron, 6-iron. So, I mean, 6-iron maybe, 5. So it's easy. It's easy for many of these guys. It's just very easy. They'll kill the Sony Open as well. I mean, that's expected.
They won't shoot 35 under there though. Kapalua, you could land
two
747s next to each other on the fairways.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right about that, but my God, I mean, they're just too good. They don't grow the rough on tour anymore. These greens are perfect. These guys are too good for these good greens. That's what they spend their day doing. They get better at it. It just seems like they're getting better and better every year. And
it'd be great. It'd be great if they had a let's just use the players, the TPC event. What if the players showed up and the greens were like a muni golf course? And I mean, wouldn't it be great just to see them bitch and complain?
I would love to see them try to play on greens that rolled at about a 9.
Or how about like a 6 or a 7?
Or a 6 or a 7. I'd love to see that. Yeah, they would lose their minds. They wouldn't know what to do with that. And maybe kind of grow the rough into the fairway a little bit. Maybe let the bunkers just be what they are. Deeper, maybe not cleaned as much. I don't. You're right though. It'd be fun to see how they would play on things that we have to play on.
Yeah. QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, no surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. A few more minutes with JC. He's got business to take care of, and then we'll get to Mark Wise here shortly. John says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. I know the NFL does the same format in the playoffs, but shouldn't they reseed? It's ridiculous that the Vikings have to go to LA. Look, it's ridiculous that the Bucks are hosting a game. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's just if you win your division, you're going to host. Doesn't matter. I mean, what was it, a couple of years ago? The Seahawks were like 7-9, and they hosted a game.
The Saints. They hosted a game against New Orleans, and that was Marshawn Lynch taking over the game. Yeah, I remember that. And I think it is kind of ridiculous. A 14-win team is traveling and does not really have a clear chance to have a home game. I mean, for them to have a home game, QB, the 6 and the 7 seeds would have to win this weekend. Both would have to win.
Yeah.
And that's probably not going to happen. Now, I mean, Green Bay is a capable team, but man, they're banged up and they're not beating Philly. And the 6th seed would be, in this case, Washington, and they're going to play at Tampa. They could win that game easily. So I guess it's possible that Minnesota would host, but I find it unlikely. And Minnesota's on the road. Listen, the Rams beat them before, so Minnesota can't go into this game just thinking they'll just move on. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah,
we'll see.
All right, before we let you go, JC, real quick, Reg, you want to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. Shane, what are your thoughts on the new TGL Simulator Golf League with Tiger and Rory? I have zero interest, Reggie. I don't understand how anybody's going to watch that. Have you know what we're talking about, JC?
No, I missed that one.
So they have these teams, like Billy Horschel's on a team, Tiger has a team, Rory has a team, and they play on golf simulators where, yeah, I don't know how it could even be worth watching on TV. Okay, last thing, JC, we'll get you out of here. This came in on YouTube the other day. I kept it because I'm gonna see if you agree or disagree with this. This gentleman says Brian Hartline would leave Ohio State if he was offered a step up in coaching, like going from wide receiver coach to OC, especially at a place like UF. it would create a path to being a head coach in the future. Do you want to give me your thoughts on that, or I'll go first?
I think. I mean, isn't Brian Hartline a Buckeye? He is a
Yes.
Buckeye, right?
Yes.
I don't see him take. I would say no. I don't see that happening.
Well, he's making $1.6 million to be the wide receiver coach right now. He has nothing but
low
NFL
stress.
dudes lined up year in and year out. And
low stress.
again, I think people who are Florida fans, you have to take off your orange and blue glasses, your orange and blue t-shirts that you wear, and going to UF to be the OC, he ain't leaving, people. It ain't going to happen.
I don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't
ridiculous.
See it either, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing, JC. Here's the thing, JC.
Yeah.
He ain't never called plays before.
Right. Listen, folks, here's the thing. I'm just going to clear it up. This is really an issue that I just don't know why we spend a lot of time on. Florida is not hiring an offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinator is the guy who's in charge. So basically, that's what you're going to have. That's what you have as long as you have this guy. And right now, it looks like he's your guy. So that's it. I mean, why do we talk about this all the time, QB?
Well, because people think, I don't know, maybe if we do get an offense coordinator, that's great. But I can tell you right now, Brian Hartline ain't coming because A, he's never called a play. B, he's making a ton of money. So anyway, all right, JC, have a good day.
Okay. Thank you, guys. See you Wednesday. Thank you.
JC's got business to take care of. We'll get more conversation from him on Wednesday. So Kevin says here on the Titan MR text line, awesome to hear that golf is back. I need some pocket change. Looking forward to the golf picks. Well, we picked some good ones and we picked some bad ones. No question about that. We're going to have Mark Wise here momentarily after the next break. But in the meantime, I'm going to answer some of these texts. This is from Jimmy on the Titan MR text line. He says, Shane, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl? Oh, man, there's some good teams. There's some good quarterbacks. Obviously, I think a lot of people want to see Buffalo play the Detroit Lions. The Chiefs, like I said, the Chiefs just don't lose. You got to beat them in Arrowhead. They're not as explosive offensively as they've been over the years, but their defense is outstanding. It's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs, but Lamar's had a phenomenal year. I don't know who's going to win the MVP. I thought Joe Burrow was outstanding this year. Just didn't play good defense on his team. So Wally Gator says Chiefs fatigue. I get it, but I'm telling you right now, I think the Chiefs are going to go to more Super Bowls than the Patriots did if he stays healthy and Andy Reid stays there. I think they're that good. And when you call plays, did you get input from others during the game? How did that work? Yes. Anybody that calls plays, you always meet throughout the week, get their input of what they like. Obviously, you make the final call, but most guys that are like, I'm more of a passing guy. Then you lean heavy on your O-line coach. Give me your best run on the, if we need a 3rd and 2, give me your best run, and they call it. And whereas some guys are more run game oriented, may lean to their wide receiver or their quarterback coach and say, hey, I need our best pass against this coverage right here. This is what we're expecting. So it's a collective effort. There's no question about that. But the final say goes to the guy that calls the actual play. Justin on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. So are we hiring a DC, or is Roberts just going to assume the role for next season? Well, Roberts was your DC this year. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. We've talked to Edgar about it. We've talked to, Graham Hall, all these guys. They've heard that there will be some changes on defense, but we've yet to see those. So I don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. Chad says Big Ten's talking all kinds of crap about SEC being down. Well, we got one team playing for the national title. So, look, the SEC has been so dominant. I think when is the last time the Big Ten won a national title? When Urban was coaching? Oh, no, they won it last year, Michigan. Chris from Cottondale, has Brian Hartline ever called a play? No. They made him OC last year, if I'm not mistaken. Then Dave took back the play calling. Well, maybe he called some last year, but that's not going to happen. I don't know why people think Brian Hartline, who would leave to go leave his alma mater, that he's had a phenomenal job and a phenomenal receiving core year in and year out, why he would leave to go anywhere. That just doesn't make sense, people. And plus, I don't know if, I mean, Chris says he called plays last year, maybe did, but he doesn't have enough experience calling plays. John says the early bye didn't affect Detroit. Now this bye comes at a good time for them. I'm not sure we're talking about the early bye. They're banged up, man. I tell you what won them the game last night was the line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage, because they have some issues on their back end of their defense, but their front four, front five put it on Sam Darnold, and they couldn't protect him. Couldn't protect him. So a great win for them for sure. How good is Alex Anzalone? Have you ever crossed paths with Dan Campbell? Seems like a players love playing. Anzalone's a heck of a player. Will Muschamp guy, right? I saw Jonathan Bullard playing. Isn't he a Will Muschamp guy too? Dante Fowler, who's still playing. Muschamp. Muschamp could recruit some defensive players. There's no question about that, boy. They were good year in and year out. He put a lot of guys into the league. And it's a shame that Will's not coaching anywhere. He's just an analyst at Georgia, but doesn't do much there to spend time with his family, which he deserves. But he's such a good defensive mind that nobody's able to use his services. Electronics World Integration and Design Specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. electronicsworld.net. All right, a couple more texts, and we're going to take a break, and then we'll get to Mark Wise. This is from Larry. He says, Larry says, Shane, I know you're an avid golfer. What is your favorite course that you have ever played? Ooh, probably Cypress Point out in California. Played there with Coach Spurrier. We also played Pebble Beach and Spyglass and Spanish Bay and all that in 1 week. That was back in like 1995, I guess, 96, somewhere around there. But I'd go Cypress Point because it's impossible to get on. You got to know somebody to get you on there, and it's crazy. But my golf game is so bad right now; it's the worst it's ever been in my career. It's driving me nuts. But you go in slumps in that game. That sport is so tough. Yeah, I played Old Memorial Mark several times. A lot of sand traps. A lot. Text on the Titan MR text line. Any chance Muschamp would come back to coach the defense at UF? Boy, I'd love that. I don't know if it's a chance or not, but call him up. It'd be good to see for sure. I know he probably doesn't want to be a head coach and have to deal with the nonsense you got to deal with right now. I don't know if people saw Jim Moore Jr., who's done a phenomenal job at UConn, who beat North Carolina in their bowl game. He said a lot of big name schools have come after some of their players. He says, we know who you are. We know you're tampering. Don't mess with my players. So it's kind of funny, but UConn's got some dudes, man. He's done a great job recruiting for sure. Text on the Titan MR text line from George. Shane, if you were to start your franchise, what quarterback would you start it with? Oh my goodness. Whew. That's hard. Oh, because all the good ones are still under 30 years old for the most part. Would I go with Mahomes? Would I go with Josh Allen? Would I go Burrow? If you want to run a different type of offense, you go with Jaden Daniels and Lamar. I think Joe Burrow throws the most catchable, accurate ball I've ever seen in all my years of watching football. So I'm going to go Joe Burrow. But I may trade. And I'll take Burrow and Josh Allen, I guess. We got breaking news right here on PodUp with Matthews in the morning. The Jacksonville Jaguars have fired Doug Peterson. So we shall see if the Jags get Ben Johnson. There's also rumors that Ben Johnson may go to the Chicago Bears. Bears got some dudes on offense now. They just need somebody to call plays. Gator Art says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He's a sad Dolphins fan. I see why you always pick against us. We are the most dysfunctional franchise in sport. I don't know if you are the most dysfunctional in sports. There's a lot of bad ones out there. But so we got 2 job openings in the NFL right now. Yesterday, like an hour after the Patriots game, they fired Gerard Mayo. So you got the Patriots open, the Jags are open. I think that's it for now. This text says, I agree with you. The Heartline talk is a joke. Same old recruiting BS like Heartline got Jeremiah Smith. Now money got the guy, and the rest of them he has coached. Yeah, Jeremiah Smith is one of the most talented human beings I've ever seen at that age. And he says, Adam says, Bob Stoops or Zook coming back as the DC. Neither of those will happen. Breaking news, Josh Allen was crushed that I'm going with Joe Burrow. I don't know. I like Josh Allen too. That's a hard question. I would start my starting running back in my franchise would be Bijan Robinson from Atlanta. I think he's so talented and can do so many things. Although I like Jahmyr Gibbs too, though. So got a lot of good young players in the National Football League right now. Let's get to this day in sports so we don't waste Mark Wise time with that. This day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2018 Tennessee Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota scores a touchdown off his own pass in a 22-21 victory of the Chiefs, the second NFL quarterback to catch his own pass and score a touchdown. I never did that. I did catch my own pass, but I didn't score. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to knock it down, but just your natural instincts, you catch it, right? So anyway, all right, we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to be joined by Mark Wise, ESPN SEC Network basketball analyst, talk a little Gator hoops, SEC hoops, and national hoops. He is your guy. Also, he and the Dean of Sports, Steve Russell, crank up their hoop. There it is today, I think at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we'll get all that information from Mark. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security System, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Unleash the Inferno.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health Ortho Care makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings, and walk-ins are welcome. Go check them out at UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Back to the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by Mark Wise from ESPN SEC Network, great basketball analyst. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing, bud?
Morning. Good to be back with you again. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good holidays. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I'm sure I had a good time.
Yeah. Kind of today is like getting back to reality for most people. It's kind of like a 2 week break and you kind of lose track of where we are. Before we jump into hoop talk, I wanted to bring you on also because you and the dean, Steve Russell, are cranking back up Hoop There It Is today, correct?
Yeah.
How can people, what time is it I believe it's every Monday during hoop season,
Yeah.
and how can they watch that?
Well, that's a great question. It's 10:30 this morning.
Oh,
I'm sure you can Google Hoop There It Is and find us somehow. So I think we're on Facebook as well. So man, your first questions really put me on the spot. I'm
yeah.
I'm in
Well,
trouble here. I'm in
I should
trouble
have
with
known you
Freddie
probably didn't
now.
know because you're like me. I don't really know about a whole lot about my show either. So anyway, for folks, Mark and Steve do a phenomenal job. Hoop There It Is. It's going to be a podcast like this on Facebook Live, I believe. Just Google it and you can find it. Let's start with the Gators. Obviously,
Yeah,
they were undefeated, had a great non-conference record. They went to Rupp, which is a hard place to play.
right.
Uh, I think Kentucky's very well coached. It was a fun game to watch. Not a bad loss. But what have you seen from this Gator team so far this year?
Well, until Saturday, I got to watch all of the first half, and then I watched intermittent as we were getting ready to start our game in the second half. And until Saturday, I would have told you they're so much better defensively. And a lot of that has to do with Elijah Martin. I like what he brings to the table in terms of a toughness, a guy that kind of gets up in your grill and can guard you. And that's something on the perimeter I don't think they've had the last 3 or 4 years. So that's one part of it. Now, Saturday obviously was a step back defensively, but I would also tell you that Kentucky runs really good stuff. They run, not to complicate people with X's and O's, but our game has evolved into such a ball screen heavy game that most of the action is on the ball. Well, Kentucky runs a lot of action off the ball, where guys are splitting, where there's three-way, what I call three-way action, meaning three different guys are going in three different directions. Florida, to my knowledge, never got a handle on it. Kentucky kind of got what they want. You never want the team's best player, best shooter to beat you. And Brea, who's one of the better shooters in the country, I think he made 6 in the game, 7 in the game. So a step back defensively. But if you didn't have a dog in the race, that was as good a college basketball game as you'd want to find.
Let me ask you this. There's been so many people over the years talk about Calipari, great recruiter, but not a
Yeah.
great X's and O's guy. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know enough about basketball to know if that's true or not.
Right.
But Mark Pope, I feel like he knows what he's doing X's and O's wise. And
Yeah.
being a former player, I guess, is the Big Blue Nation excited about Mark Pope?
Well, until he starts losing. Yeah, they're excited. They're like, I think it's a breath of fresh air for Kentucky fans, for the BBN, as they like to refer to themselves as the Big Blue Nation. I'm not sure that they're going to guard as well as maybe Calipari's teams did in the past. I think Mark Pope is a very offensive-driven coach, and I think most coaches, and I don't know about football, I think it's the same way. I think most head coaches see the game one way or the other. I think there are very few coaches who see the game both offensively and defensively. And therefore, I mean, Mark Pope is an offensive-driven guy, and for an offensive-minded guy like me, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, it's that's how I am. I want to score points. The Tennessee Vols are the Gators' opponent tomorrow night in the O'Connell Center. #1 team in America. Oh, Rick Barnes has it going. I mean, they're a nasty team.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark everybody had was, how is Tennessee going to replace Dalton Knecht and what he brought to the table? And much like Dalton Knecht came from Northern Colorado, Chaz Lanier came from North Florida, so he's playing up, if you will. and he has more than answered the call. I mean, he has provided everything. Not the physicality. He's a better shooter, quote unquote, than Connect. Doesn't bring the same kind of physicality in terms of getting to the rim, but he's giving the same kind of offensive numbers. So they have not dropped off. You've still got Zakai Ziegler in his 19th year as a point guard. And I can say that about a lot of teams and a lot of players. I just had Mississippi State, and I swear Cam Matthews is in his 22nd year. Yep. And he looks older than I look, and that's saying something. And they still defend. They're as good as any team in the country at putting pressure on the ball, but having great gap integrity. So I'm pretty sure Barnes is going to remind the players what happened here last year. So I would, again, I've never seen it like this, Shane. So I think football coaches are the same way. They all look at their schedule, and they'll never admit this, but they'll go, okay, we can get that one. And then maybe if we can pick up one there, we can get those 3 in a row. And they all do that. They'll never admit it, but they all do that. I don't know where any team in this league this year is going to look at their schedule and go, oh, there's 3 in a row I know we can get. So I think a couple of things as Florida heads into Tennessee and into this gauntlet of what's an SEC schedule this year, I think you better have a renter's mentality on success. I mean, success is never owned, it's only rented. So if you better be able to move on and handle success. And the other part of that equation is you better have amnesia on losses. Mm-hmm. Because in this league, as good as it is this year, you don't want one loss. If you can't flush a loss out, you don't want one loss to become 3 or 4 in a row. And it could be in this league. It can become that. Florida could play really well tomorrow night. They played really well the other day and lost. They could play really well on Tuesday night and still lose.
Yeah, you've been covering basketball for many, many years. Have you ever seen a conference this good? I mean,
no.
Maybe the ACC back in the heyday, but
well, I probably will even go further than you because back in the Big East, back in the 80s in the Big East, they were this way. The ACC in the 90s were this way. But even saying that, I've never seen, because in this day and age of expanded conferences, you got to remember, I think the Big East had 8 teams back then. ACC maybe had 10 in the 90s. So, but you're talking about 16 teams. And they've all got something on their resume that they can hang their hat on here in the non-conference. Here was the thing that, and I don't care how you slice it, ranked teams in the top 25, top 10 teams in the net, Ken Palm, any way you slice it, it was a historical non-conference. But the one thing that stood out to me above all others, if you just want to look at a number, the SEC and non-conference play in quad 1 opportunities. And if you have to ask, if anybody's watching the show, if you have to ask what a quad 1 opportunity is, then turn in your Hoop Junkie card because I'm not going to explain it. But in quad 1 opportunities, the league was 29-19. That's 10 games over 500. Anything around 500 is really good. So they're 10 games over. The next power conference, so think about that. They're 10 games over. The next best power conference team or league in non-conference play was 20 games under.
Wow.
20 games under. That's how good the league has been in the non-conference.
Yeah, that's great. And what's crazy to me is I know Saturday was week 1 of the conference play. I looked at the scores and it was just blowout city. I mean,
yeah.
Good teams getting blown out on the road, and that's going to happen week in and out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I refer to that amnesia. You better be able to flush losses. I think road wins are going to be rare in the league this year. I do think there's one team above everybody else, and I think that's Auburn. With the way they play, the way they've scheduled, the people that they beat, the way Janai Broom is playing. I think they're above everybody right now. But other than them, and, the first tier, I've probably got Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee. And the next tier is probably Kentucky, Florida, maybe Mississippi State. I just think if you can get 3 or 4 wins on the road this year in the league play, that'd be outstanding. But you got to protect home court. And of course, the only road team that won on Saturday was Vanderbilt. And I've already had them a couple of times, and they're a big surprise.
Yeah, very interesting. Here's an interesting text on the Titan No More text line from Jim. He says, Mark, Clemson doesn't take portal transfers in football. Is there anybody that has not taken portal transfers in basketball?
No, zero. I mean, I've almost gotten to the point on a broadcast, and I don't know how you are, but where a player played for previously has no interest to me. I might mention it in a casual way, but everybody played somewhere else. The only thing that are unique are the guys, and we run into this, are the guys that are playing their 4th year at the 4th different school.
Yeah.
And somehow we've got to corral that. I mean, I'll because of COVID redo, our game has never been older. Because our game has never been older, it's never been better. I mean, we're playing 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds. And so when you throw that into the mix, that's why old continues to win. Now, things should drop back a little bit last year. I have no idea what's going to happen with this 5th-year eligibility that's floating around right now. But the COVID redo, the transfer portal, the acquisition of talent, and that means whatever you want it to mean because we're paying for players.
Mm-hmm.
The acquisition of talent in this league has never been better, and the coaching in this league has never been better.
What would you do? Because, I mean, we all know Jim Larinaga. I guess he got fired or retired, whatever he did there. Look, if I was coaching today's world, I wouldn't want to have to deal with it either.
Right.
But I have no problem back when I played. If you transferred, you had to sit out, right?
Right.
I do think players should get one free transfer. But after that, you need to be penalized. What would Mark Wise do to try to calm this whole scenario down?
Yeah, I'm in your boat completely. I think you get a one-time transfer, and then everybody says, well, what about the grad transfers? Okay, we'll deal with that later. Okay, I mean, maybe you can make an exception for grad transfers. But the problem was when the NCAA 10 years ago, when I was screaming we have a transfer problem and nobody listened, the exception became the rule. And until the NCAA starts governing the sport, instead of just kind of acquiescing to everybody, every lawsuit, because they can't win a lawsuit. I mean, if you were the head coach of the NCAA, you'd be fired a long time ago in terms of their losing record. So I would like to see the one-time transfer. I think we're going to have to end up in contracts. I don't see any way around it. I know everybody thinks that revenue sharing will solve a lot of problems. Well, all that means is we're going to go to 3 ways that players can earn money. We're going to go to revenue sharing, which will be above the table. We'll go to the NIL the way NIL was designed to be, making money off your name, image, and likeness, not an inducement to recruiting. And then we're going to go back to under the table stuff. That's just not going to go away. So until somebody starts governing the sport and having a governing body, it's going to be with the Wild Wild West still.
Yeah. All right. Before we get you out of here, obviously we talked about a lot about the SEC teams. Give me a couple of teams that you like around the country that can make a deep run in the tournament. Well,
let me start with one of the teams that, was the last 4 undefeated teams. There were 3 teams in the SEC, and then the other team that was the last team to be undefeated going into the new year was Drake. And what makes Drake interesting, they hired a guy from the Division II level, Ben McCullum, and he brought with him 4 starters from Division II, and they have just absolutely killed it. It's one of the best stories going in our game this year. So keep your eye on Drake in the Missouri Valley. Other teams, what's interesting is I had Illinois, and I'll say it this way. Illinois, I had in an exhibition game at Ole Miss, and Ole Miss beat Illinois by 25 points. Illinois had all kinds of new players on their roster. I had no idea what they were walking into from a player's perspective. But when we talked to Brad Underwood, who I think is one of the best coaches in our game, he said, I purposely scheduled it this way because I needed these guys to have a wake-up call and to see what it's going to take. He picked out Ole Miss because they were an older team. They were a more physical team. Well, guess what now? Because everybody panicked about Illinois. Everybody in the Illinois clan, they all panicked after that game. Oh, it's going to be a down year. Well, Illinois in the net this morning is 7. They've got a couple of great wins. They beat Missouri in the border shootout in the last second. The dude knows what he's doing. So keep your eye on Illinois in the Big Ten.
And we had a text on the Titan Mart text, and they want to know what favorite arena that you go to is your favorite.
That's a great question. I've said this for years. My favorite is Arkansas because they laid the floor down at Bud Walton and then built the arena around it. So it wasn't built as a multi-purpose facility. It was built to be an arena around a basketball court. So it seats 15, 16,000. There's not a bad seat in the house. And when it's going, when it's rocking, I mean, it's really good. It's built with everybody in mind. They've got great, I know you'll know this, they've got great fiber optics in that arena in terms of production and whatnot. So I like the redo at Tennessee, what they did there. The redo at the O-Dome was outstanding. So that was badly needed at the time. So am I leaving anybody out in the league? And then I always mention this. 4 or 5 years ago, I did a lot of games in the American. Going to Wichita State in the Roundhouse, again, same kind of concept, 9,000 seats. It's built in a circle around the arena. It's a really cool place for hoops.
Wolf Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says Iowa State is the team not getting enough love.
Yeah. No question about it. Auburn was lucky to beat them in Maui on a tip-in by Broom. I shouldn't say lucky. I mean, it was a great game. But, yeah, I think they're flying under the radar. Houston, because they lost some early games, oddly enough, is flying under the radar. So that'll be a big-time look at in terms of the Big 12, in terms of Houston and Iowa State.
And Mark wants to know, Mark, what's the keys to beating the Vols tomorrow night?
Well, I'm going to go back to offense. You're going to have to be able to score against the Tennessee defense. That's one. And then two, unlike the Kentucky game where Kentucky's best shooter got good looks, you cannot allow Lanier good looks. Florida will have to tighten up their defense in the game. Now, that seems like an obvious statement, but you can't allow somebody to play 1.4 points per possession and expect to win.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, Mark. Again,
all right.
Today, it's at 10:30. Is it going to be 10:30 every Monday?
30 every Monday.
All right. That's Mark Wise. Appreciate your time, my man.
All right. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, Mark Wise does a phenomenal job on the SEC Network and ESPN covering the basketball games. There are many car washes in Gainesville, but only one Gallo car wash, locally owned by a UF alum, and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. With 3 locations, go check them out. That's the Gallo car wash. I want to thank JC and Mark Wise again. Mark and Steve Russell every Monday. It'd be a podcast now. It used to be on RUF, but since Steve is retired, they're going to do a podcast. It's probably going to be from Spurrier's, I would think. But 10:30, Hoop, there it is. You can check it out and get all the information and watch, because Mark knows his stuff, man. He knows his stuff. Yeah, here we go. It is on YouTube, on Facebook, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the platforms, folks. 10:30 today, every Monday during basketball. Steve Russell, Mark Wise, Hoop, there it is. We'll be here tomorrow with Buddy Martin, and I'm trying to get somebody from Notre Dame, believe it or not. Talk about the Irish, their great season they're having, and we'll talk more playoffs, basketball, obviously tomorrow night. Gators host the number 1 team, the Tennessee Vols. Andy's last question here before we get out of here. He wants to know, who do I think will be a better pro, Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty? Well, they play different positions. I think Jeanty's going to be a really good running back in this league. And, but I don't think Travis Hunter will play wide receiver. I think he will be strictly a defensive back. So hope y'all enjoyed it. Appreciate you chiming in. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.